Hello and welcome to my favourite kind of CareersLab episode where I get to answer your questions. 3 of them in total. I can't wait to dive in, but first, some lunch. Question 1. Question number 1 comes in from Hannah. Okay, so this is a 3-parter question, and the first part of that reads, I may be a blank page, so I was wondering how I can start planning, preparing for career building as I begin my time here in UCL and in London. If I have several industries I'm interested in, should I consider scaling down the options as quickly as possible and search for related jobs? I love this question, Hannah. Thank you so much for sending it in. I think firstly, there's no need to rush. Little bits of career thinking done often and early can quickly accumulate in value in a way that might surprise you. The point around the timing of when it's right to narrow down some options makes me think of this shape. So this dot, Hannah, represents a time when your knowledge of career options was potentially less developed, so when you were younger, and as you learnt more about the world, knowledge of your options opened up, so a little bit like these lines, expanding away from each other until a point where you feel sufficiently aware of your options, from which point then you'd narrow towards a decision or a set of decisions. So I guess, Hannah, I really want to ask you where you feel you might be on this diamond shape, because if you narrow down your options too soon, like this, you potentially miss out on some career paths represented by this shaded region. And second, it's a good idea to be conscious of what kind of decision maker you are. So are you a maximizer, i.e. someone who considers every option before being comfortable deciding on one? Or are you more of a satisficer, someone who's generally satisfied with the first thing that feels about right? Being conscious of this, Hannah, will help you figure out if you're really at that point where you're ready to start narrowing things down. So the second part of your question, Hannah, reads, how should I be using LinkedIn effectively? And especially as a first year, how should I approach using it? Is it even relevant at this stage? Hannah, you can make LinkedIn relevant for whatever career stage you may be at. So if you're at the exploration stage, you could potentially use it to explore what UCL history graduates have done before you. And this database contained inside LinkedIn shows that data, and scrolling down allows you to see the individual people who make up that data. You can also use LinkedIn to explore sectors you may be interested in. Staying within the UCL alumni filter, clicking right to the what they do area means you can drill down into specific areas, say media and communication here, and explore further. And of course you can interact with people you find interesting too, Hannah. Messaging people saying, I'd love to learn more about the work you do, it sounds captivating. Could I ask you a few questions about it over Zoom? And this is a totally legitimate approach, Hannah. So the bottom line is you can kind of make LinkedIn relevant for whatever stage of the career planning process you might be at, wherever you might be at on that diamond shape. Okay, so the third part of your question, Hannah, reads, any advice for younger applicants who feel like they can't compete? I'm always concerned about being not as decorated in terms of achievements as potential competitors. So Hannah, there's no way you got into one of the world's best universities by accident. So seriously, give yourself the credit you deserve. The sacrifices you no doubt made and the attributes that got you here don't fade. In fact, they can be strengthened. And at UCL, you have the tools and opportunities to do so, whether by speaking to people who are changing the world, developing skills in specific sectors, or even joining a startup with support from world-leading experts at King's Cross. You can get as decorated as you want, Hannah, because opportunity is everywhere and competition isn't. And I guess the other thing I'd recommend is to surround yourself with nurturing people. Sure, it can take time to identify and develop those relationships, especially online, but with perseverance, you can form a group of people around you who won't let you believe you can't compete. They'll remind you of what you're great at, Hannah, and you can do the same for them. Hannah, I love these awesome questions. Thank you so much for sending them in, and a very warm welcome to UCL. Next up, Alejandro asks, hey Raj, I'd love a video talking about the differences between a job interview and a postgraduate interview. Specifically, I've had troubles answering about future plans in both of them. Great question, Alejandro. I think let's look at the motivations for each of asking about your future plans. So admissions tutors for postgraduate degrees care, amongst other things, about where their degree ranks on league tables and employability is a big part of any such ranking. So when they ask you about your future, Alejandro, they're really trying to figure out your likelihood of securing a role after you graduate. So an optimal response to them might be something like, sure, I'd love to share my thinking about my future plans. So I have two clear paths, X and Y, that I'm currently enjoying exploring. I'm leveraging networks to have conversations with people in these sectors, and I know my work experience has helped me develop skill X, which is useful in both these career paths. I'm really looking forward to your career insight days so I can develop my career thinking alongside like-minded individuals and getting those applications in nice and early. Now, it's not perfect, Alejandro, but you certainly want to be expressing that positivity and clarity of intent about how you might go about securing a role after you graduate. Now, a job interviewer's motivation for asking about your future plans is potentially a little bit different. It may be to determine your level of commitment, to check how you might fit in, and more. Alejandro, the strongest scoring interview answers for this will likely show a connection between your future plans and those of the organisation. So you could communicate how the skills you'll be building up in the role you're interviewing for could potentially, eventually, contribute to their projects X, Y, and Z later. In communicating that, Alejandro, you're showing them you're committed, adaptable, that you know how you might grow inside that organisation, and that you're going to give them a good return on their investment for any training they're likely to provide, because you'll stay for that longer term, as well as giving them a mental image of you working on those future projects. Communicate that, Alejandro, and you're doing an amazing job. Thanks for sending your question in. The last question this week comes in from Heshan, and he asks, Raj, what are your tips for performing well on an internship or grad scheme, especially with the more virtual dimension we are now in? Heshan, this is such a valuable question, and I don't know if you caught the episode a few weeks back where I spoke to two expert recruiters about what skills they're looking at under the rise of remote working, but the idea of managing up was coming up time and time again. This is the idea of making your boss's job easier by proactively communicating with them, letting them know if you've finished a task or need more of a challenge, or if there's anything you can do to help them, especially as they can't see you and they can't informally check in with you in ways that they might previously have been able to, like walking together to get a coffee, for example. The other element, Heshan, is to network widely. Remote working must not mean that you're invisible. So you can definitely ask your manager to potentially recommend a mentor or different contacts that you could learn from or even shadow. Your success in a role, Heshan, is directly proportional to how people feel about you in a workplace. So definitely cultivate those relationships, and the very best of luck, my friend. So that brings to a close this Q&A video, and please know there'll be another one in December which may well feature questions you've sent in but I haven't been able to get round to this episode. And it will also feature fresh questions. And if you'd like the opportunity to have yours featured, please email me at careers.marketing@ucl.ac.uk. That's it from me for this week. I'll see you next time.